Without a doubt, the absolute best new horror TV show of the year is. What's up, boils and ghouls? It is May, and it is an exciting month for horror fans. Hokum just came out in theaters. We've still got Obsession on the way. We've got Backrooms on the way. But on the small screen, this year hasn't given us all that much to be excited for. We've gotten Something Very Bad is going to happen, and Stranger Things Tales from 85 over on Netflix. From season 4 just started debuting new episodes. So if you like that show, that's a reason to be excited as a horror fan. Probably the most exciting part of streaming in May of 2026 is the fact that Tales from the Crypt is now streaming on Shudder, which is awesome because that show has not been available to stream since streaming existed. So unless you track down the DVDs or maybe already had them, you haven't been able to watch that show. But without a doubt, the absolute best new horror TV show of the year is Widow's Bay on Apple TV. At this point, we've only gotten 3 episodes, so you might not have gotten a chance to check it out yet. You might be doubtful about how good it is. However, as someone who has watched the entire series, I can confirm it is as good as these 3 episodes, and it potentially gets better from here. So I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you need to be watching Widow's Bay. Before getting into all those reasons, reminder to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, so I know that videos like these are worth making. And without further ado, here's why you need to be watching Widow's Bay.
Welcome to Widow's Bay.
1. It is coastal horror. For those of you who might not know the premise of Widow's Bay, it is about a small island community off the coast of New England, and the mayor is trying to revitalize the town. He's trying to turn it into a destination like Martha's Vineyard. However, the town has a dark and strange and maybe supernatural past that is preventing it from becoming the vacation destination that some people in the town hope it would be. Others hope it never becomes because they're aware of the town's past. Based on just the early looks at the show, there were a lot of comparisons to something like Twin Peaks because that is a, Pacific Northwest, relatively remote, isolated, wooded community. But the vibes of Widow's Bay are definitely different. I'm a huge fan of things like The Fog or Messiah of Evil, or even Dagon, the Stuart Gordon H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. There's just something about setting a story on the coast that makes the terror all that much different. You get lots of fog, understandably. There's just something about stories where the real world meets something deeper and darker that happens in these coastal communities that you can't get in stories like Twin Peaks. So if you're like me and you enjoy spooky stories that take place in coastal isolated communities, then you're definitely going to like Widow's Bay. 2, it is hilarious. You might not immediately recognize the name Katie Dippold if you're a horror fan. She wrote the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, and she wrote the 2023 Haunted Mansion movie. But she also wrote on Parks and Rec for quite a long time. In fact, the pilot of Widow's Bay was her submission to Parks and Rec to get an opportunity to write for the show. Again, I mentioned Twin Peaks earlier, and a lot of people are thinking this is going to be Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is very funny and there's very silly elements of that show, but a lot of the humor comes from the absurdity of everything going on. It's the David Lynch story. So, of course, you're going to have weird characters interacting and creating interesting dynamics. Widow's Bay is just an entirely different type of humor. It's very funny. It's very quirky. The characters aren't quite as exaggerated as something like Twin Peaks. So the humor is just straightforward humor. It's just funny jokes. If you like the sense of humor of Parks and Rec, then you're probably going to like the sense of humor of Widow's Bay.
I mean, who are you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
The innkeeper didn't tell me anyone else would be here.
Does he usually announce guests to each other?
3. It is the greatest hits of horror. Now, there is an overall storyline that runs throughout all 10 episodes of Widow's Bay, but what is really making the show fun and exciting and keeps you on your toes is the fact that each installment, each episode, just delivers a different kind of threat. One episode will have a ghost, another episode will have a witch, another episode will have a slasher, another episode will have folk horror. No matter what type of horror you are interested in, this show has got you covered. And what is good about that is the fact that if you don't like one episode because maybe you're not interested in the mythology of hags or sea witches or anything like that, that's okay, because the next episode is probably going to have something that speaks more directly to your horror sensibilities. So not only is there the overall vibe of the coastal horror that is a running theme throughout, there's a running mystery throughout, you're just getting so many different types of horror over the course of these 10 episodes. 4. The cast. On paper, you might not immediately recognize the stars of the show, and that's okay, because I honestly wasn't super familiar with a majority of the cast just from reading their names. I did know Matthew Rhys and I knew Stephen Root, but I think for your average viewer, you might not even know who those people are. Matthew Rhys plays the mayor of Widow's Bay, and for all intents and purposes, he feels like a blend of Chief Brody and Mayor Vaughn from Jaws. He feels like Chief Brody because he was not born in Widow's Bay, so there's this outsider perspective that not only he feels, but also that the locals try and impose upon him, letting him know, like, you're in over your head. You don't really know the actual history of this town. You're never going to be one of us. Yet he still wants to uncover what is happening. But he's also like Mayor Vaughn in the fact that he's kind of just putting his head in the sand when it comes to the terrifying things that are happening in this community, because he's the driving force who wants to turn this town into a vacation destination. Stephen Root is essentially playing Quint from Jaws. He is the old town drunk. He is the one trying to warn people about what's really going on. No one really knows why he feels so devout in warning people about protecting this community. And both of those actors are fantastic. They are two of the main figures in the series. However, the real surprise is Kate O'Flynn as Patricia. I had no idea who this actress was, and she is fantastic. It's really hard to come up with any other character like Patricia that I can think of in a horror story or a comedy series. She is somewhat naive. She is somewhat vulnerable. She's just an incredibly quirky character, and she is probably my favorite part of the series, and Kate O'Flynn is fantastic as Patricia. 5 30-minute episodes. We live in a day and age where it feels like every show could be shorter, whether it's because each season has too many episodes or each episode lasts just a little bit too long. Widow's Bay has 10 30-minute episodes. Some of them are slightly longer at 35 or 40 minutes, but these stories get in, they entertain you, they compel you, they freak you the hell out, and then they end. That's it. So the fact that we're getting these concise stories, these 30-minute episodes, it's hard to just not keep watching when you have a whole bunch of episodes in front of you. So I understand that there's only been a handful of episodes that are out. That's okay. Once they all stack up, it's going to be easy to revisit this 5-hour story set on Widow's Bay. So there you have it. That's why Widow's Bay is something that all horror fans need to check out. It feels like Stephen King meets John Carpenter, meets Twin Peaks, meets Jaws. It touches on all of our favorite types of horror stories, and it's definitely something that you should not be missing. If you watch the show or this video convinced you to watch it, let me know down in the comments. Also, like and subscribe. Probably, there's a little graphic somewhere in this area encouraging you to do so. But make sure to watch Widow's Bay. That's it. That's the theme. Then come back and tell me how good it is and how right I was.